10th graders. We are going to go over lesson number 11, 12, and 13 today. Okay, so I know this seems like a lot all in one, but the way that this is going to work is that this is going to be your second lesson of week 8. So the lesson that comes after lesson 10 that Miss Radcliffe walked you through about how to use Flipgrid. And it's going to be your lessons for week 9. Okay? And the reason why is because we want to give you plenty of time to practice and record your final speech. Okay? So, your final speech practice and recording is a lesson 11, 12, and 13. Our learning goal is I can practice and record my final speech using the Flipgrid application. Great. So, practicing your speech. It is very important that you practice your final speech at least 3 times before you record your final Flipgrid video. Okay, we really want you to make sure you practice so that you know what's going on and you feel good about it and it's your best work. Okay? If you would like to record your practices, you can, but you will not have to submit them. The benefit of recording them would be you could practice with the recording and then you could watch yourself and understand what you needed to do different. Okay? But like I said, you will not have to submit your practices. You will only be submitting your final recording. Alright, we're going to give you some tips for practicing and recording your final speech. Okay? We would like you to stand up. This will help you feel more confident and it will make you look more credible. Alright? We want to make sure that you look up at the camera. If we were in person, we would encourage you to make eye contact with the audience and not just look at your notes the whole time. But since we're doing it during distance learning, we're going to ask that you make sure you look up at your camera. So whoever's watching your speech feels like you're looking at them. We want you to memorize as much of your speech as you can. It's going to be hard to record and look at your outline at the same time, especially because most of your outlines are on your iPads. You can use a piece of paper or note cards to write down notes to help you stay organized. Okay? But if you do that, you should be using those note cards or that piece of paper in your practices as well as your final speech. Okay? So, this is the rubric that we are going to grade you on. I'm going to read you things out of the 3 column because that is always our goal for you, to be proficient. Okay? So the first standard is applying criteria to evaluate oral presentations by yourselves and others. What this means is that you used the feedback that we gave you on your outline to improve your final speech. You're using that same outline to do your final speech. This is going to be easy points for you guys who turned in your outline on time and got feedback. All you have to do is show that you've used the feedback. You've made some changes. Okay? So for this second line here, it's a lot of wordy words, but basically what it's saying is that your speech is in a logical order. That means it makes sense. You don't say your counterclaim before your claim. You say your claim, then your counterclaim, then your rebuttal. And that you use evidence correctly. So you use evidence for the correct claims or counterclaims. You don't change the evidence to match what you're doing. Does that make sense? So this is essentially that you're doing it in an order that makes sense and you're using the evidence correctly. Okay? This is something that if you didn't have a comment from us on your outline that said, this doesn't make sense, this evidence doesn't support, you probably already have a 3 here. You just have to show us when you do your speech. You just have to follow your outline. The next part of the rubric is the speech follows the set rhetorical theme. So you present a clear thesis, you introduce one supportive, clear reason with evidence, and then you also present a counter argument. Okay, that's all we're asking you to do. Tell us what your thesis is, what your reason with evidence for having that thesis, and then what is the counterclaim? What is something that opposes your idea? Something someone who opposes your idea could say. Okay? And then the last part, you will not get to this until week 10, and that is okay. We know that. But it's going to be commenting and viewing other classmates' speeches. So you will be asked to go into Flipgrid and comment on and ask questions and give compliments on at least 2 to 3 other classmates' speeches. Okay? So this one, I wouldn't worry about too much until week 10. But the other 3 will show you exactly what you need to do in your speech to get full points. So, our assignment. Do, number 1, practice giving your speech at least 3 times. Use the tips that we've given you. They're there to help you. Use the rubric as well. Number 2, when you feel ready, record yourself giving your final speech on Flipgrid. If you are having a hard time understanding Flipgrid, please make sure you reach out to your teachers and tell them that you need help. And then number 3 is you're going to submit your final speech to the Flipgrid board. So this is what the Flipgrid board looks like for my class. Ms. Radcliffe will have a different link in her Schoology page. But you will submit your final speech to Flipgrid. We will be able to view them on Flipgrid and grade them for you. And then in week 10, your classmates will be able to go and view them also. Please, like always, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to your teacher and ask them. We are here to help you. We want to hear from you. Have a great day, Hawks!